So I wanted to talk about what we need in the AI music space, what I feel the gaps currently are, and the direction that I feel we should be going in. Now, the likes of Suno and Udio have been incredibly successful, and they are amazing tools. Companies are relying on fair use, of which they are currently being sued. So we have to wait for the courts to decide what action, if any, is to be taken on these platforms. Now, I'm a musician myself, known as Cyber Monday. I've been a musician for over 20 years. And what I see is that there's quite a few things that we need as musicians to have in the AI music space. This includes a new platform that is for musicians. I want to see that musicians are compensated or rewarded to train the AI algorithm of, say, a new platform, so that there's complete transparency in the data that's been trained on the algorithm. But looking at the other end of that, in terms of the results, I would then like to see a visual representation about all of the artists that track has used to create the generation, that the algorithm is used to generate the creation, along with the compensation mechanisms going straight back to the artist. It needs to be a platform that is opt-in rather than scraping data from YouTube, Spotify, and other likes of to train their algorithm. If you scrape everything on the internet, you are going to get the best algorithm, because great data in is great data out. If you are more limited in what you can put into the algorithm, say it is, completely on select artists, then the output may not be as great. And that's certainly the case with some of the platforms that I've reported on so far. That's why Suno and Udio, their algorithm in terms of the generations is incredible. And I'm really impressed with the functionality that Suno and Udio provide, particularly with the fact that you can now upload your own music and you can create covers of that music. For example, Suno's recently just released that feature in that you could say hum, or you could sing into your microphone on your laptop and it will produce a track for you. The fact that Udio and Suno now allow for stem extraction, stem splitting is really amazing for musicians such as myself. But there's always the question mark still stands, which is how were these algorithms trained ethically? Now, the challenge that we have when such a company wants to do this is that, first of all, the algorithm, the generations need to be good enough. So the training data needs to be quite substantial. How can a platform compete with Suno and Udio to that extent of how good they currently are generating music and the functionality that currently exists? And how can the business be profitable? Because if it is compensating artists for their data, for making generations, how can that be profitable? However, still with those challenges, I feel that's what needs to happen. Now, there are some initiatives currently taking place, such as LAMDA. They have a fair trade AI program, which is compensating musicians for training their algorithm datasets. And it's important that artists are receiving benefits for this AI music technology. I think the fact that Suno and Udio have launched so well, so successfully, it's upset a lot of musicians, an awful lot of musicians. And it's been quite concerning for a lot of them, because all of a sudden the music that's produced can be with a couple of clicks, whereas it would take hours upon hours to produce. Even then the mix, the quality of that music has improved, and it's now sounding almost close to radio quality. And with the advancements of AI, it's just a matter of time before it gets even better still. But it is important that artists are rewarded for their work and recognised. And that's why I would like to see a transparency platform that actually shows that. This generation is by Elton John and Adele and Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga did the vocals, Elton John did this. But, the problem is the technicality of actually setting that up. Does the algorithm itself know that? Now, from my understanding, it should, but it could be a lot more complex than what I've just described as an example. Companies such as Universal Group, they are looking into all of this stuff in the background, and they're looking at collaborations of companies they can work with to make sure that happens. But I think the legal issues will still continue. It'll be interesting in the space to see how for the likes of Suno and Ugio are treated. And it varies by country, by state, in terms of what is allowed. So for example, AI, if you create a piece of art that is AI generated completely with, say, a text prompt and a click, depending on which country you reside in, they may say you don't own the copyright of that because a human didn't make it. That's particularly the case in the US at the moment, I believe. I think there's some change in a state or two. The UK, I think, is still a bit undecided on some of these topics. So, a lot of this stuff, the law has to catch up with the technology of AI music. But I see the future opportunities are there for musicians. And I certainly think it feels as though we may have started on the wrong foot in the space. It's always the way, isn't it, that these platforms, even social media platforms, they have the power and they decide how things go in terms of their releases. And it's often the case that other industries, such as the law, have to catch up with that. But I really do see the need for a platform such as this. And I know Google's been doing the same thing. Their generations are not amazing. There's LAMDA, which I've already mentioned as well. There may even be the opportunity, as you know if you're a subscriber of this channel, that there might even be collectible items such as NFTs. We use the blockchain to actually record who owns what and all of the transactions. Why can't we use the blockchain to work with the algorithm to say these are the artists that need to be credited for this song, for this generation? So as an example, the LAMDA model at the moment, as it currently stands, they have an opt-in model and the musician can actually say which tracks they want to actually submit to train the algorithm. Of course, there needs to be checks made to make sure that that is the owner and that they own the copyright of that track. Then there's a revenue share going back to the artist, which currently in LAMDA's terms is 20%. It's important to say that LAMDA have said that they're not going to sell their data, their algorithm to third-party services, because that's always a risk that another company could just buy them out and do what the hell they want with that model. And musicians would receive monthly payouts similar to the likes of Spotify. But on that note, let me know what you think about the space. I really want to see a platform that has that transparency in terms of where they got their generations from, what data set was used, which artists were used, which songs were used from those artists, and seeing the royalty going back to the artists as well. So there you have it. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye.